Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here. Welcome to another edition of Court Call with Ronnie Nunn. Ronnie, we've got some interesting calls today. Are you ready to put that whistle on?
I'm ready to put it on, and in referee terms, sometimes you blow it, sometimes you suck on it.
Well, that's true. I'm also looking forward to getting a little college in here because we had a big call. We'll come up to that in a little bit. But let's jump right into it with Toronto versus Orlando. And Marvin asks us why Nelson got fouls, free throw shots, on this foul that clearly looked like he wasn't in the act of shooting.
We have to remember that on this play, he's got a great up fake, and that's what's good. He gets his player up, he's coming to him, and then on the way down, he catches him. But if you notice, Nelson actually goes with the up fake. He likes that part, and then he drops it. He drops the ball in terms of a dribble. I don't think he drops the ball because he's hurt. But either way, that was not – the up fake is not a shooting position. The up fake is what it is. It's an up fake. So it can only be what they call a one-shot foul, means the ball goes to the sideline.
It was actually the fifth team foul, which was the penalty, and obviously that results in 2 free throws, even though it wasn't a shooting foul. And that's a good question because sometimes you kind of forget that there are other factors at play here that will cause free throws.
Absolutely, and that's as simple as I can get. I like the dynamics of the play as far as teaching people what a shot is and what isn't. But, of course, the foul on the fifth foul is a penalty situation in the NBA, so he was going to the free throw line, but he could not have gotten a shooting foul out of that, and that was a good call for the officials of not giving him that call on an up fake and then a dribble.
Well, let's move on to our second call because we have a question by one of our viewers who wants to know why this Taj Gibson tip-in was counted because he felt like it was goaltending. What do you see here, Ronnie? And does it fall under the purview of the goaltending rule?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not a goaltending play. And what's interesting about the play, as we slow it down for the fans and get to see it, the rules here are, does the ball have the rim as its lower base, which means, is the rim in the fat of the ball? If the rim is in the fat of the ball, then the ball cannot be touched. But the rim is not at the bottom base of the ball. The ball is actually rolling off. If a ball is rolling off, the offense can tip it in. The defense can slap it away. And that's as close as we can get to the European FIBA rules of balls on the rim, because anytime a ball is on the rim, they can knock it away even after it gets up off the rim.
Wow, I did not know that either. That's a revelation for me that if more than half the ball, I think is what you're saying, is out of the cylinder, then you can touch it. I'm not so sure that's easy for the referee to do. I think I'd prefer just to go to FIBA rules just to make it easier on the refs.
You know, I've been around FIBA now for several years, but it might be something worth looking at. And by the way, it's been looked at in the D-League, and they haven't come up with anything that they want to be convicted to. So in the meantime, the rule stays as it is. If the ball does not have the rim as its lower base, which means in the fat of that belly, if it's off that fat of that belly on the way out, again, the offense can tip it in. The defense can slap it away.
Great question by MG Tech 98. So thanks for bringing that up. I always love it when you can give me a piece of information I didn't know, Ronnie. That was great. So let's move on to our third clip, which is a J.R. Smith crucial call at the end of the game between the Knicks and the Mavericks. And we're kind of curious here. This was an unevenly officiated game, to say the least. And why wasn't there a foul called on this shot at the end of the shot clock?
Well, you know, there's always these myths and truths about officials at the end of the game, and do they put the whistles in their pocket or don't they? And in these situations, people will think that that's the situation. And I think at one time maybe it might have been something like that, that maybe coaches put upon the officials as a weighted thing to deal with. Officiating is simple. It's either over the plate for a strike or it isn't. And in this case, we can actually see from a fourth angle that Smith does get fouled. And the reason is Monta Ellis does not have a vertical position of his arm. He is reaching to block a shot. And in doing so, his arm is almost at a horizontal, and it does catch the shooting elbow, the right shooting elbow of J.R. Smith. And that should have been a foul, 2-shot foul to the line with 9 seconds remaining in the game. And by the way, that's a key with New Hoops IQ on certain plays defensively. If you're trying to block shots, and you're going after blocking shots, you will foul more times, far more times than you will get a block shot. So
Absolutely. And from a defensive fundamental standpoint, you never, ever want to be in a situation like Monta was, flying through the air across in a player, because, again, even if you don't think you're going to foul him or touch him, that generally ends up causing you a foul either way. So I would hope this is a good learning experience for the Mavs and for Monta, and I would imagine that Rick Carlisle would talk to him and say, listen, just put a hand straight up and let him take that really tough shot, because that's a real that could have cost him the game.
yeah, and he stayed pretty tight with him on the dribble. I mean, he might have could have gotten a forearm foul and on terms of impeding progress. That's why the shot was tough for JR to get up and get over him. But in the meantime, Monta Ellis gets away with one, Dallas gets away with one, and it could have been a tie game again with Nowitzki's score at the end instead of the winning shot. So these things happen, but an official must stay with the defender. That's the person that can hurt him, and that's the person that hurt him this time.
So let's jump right into our fourth clip, which is Dwight Howard coming in early on a free throw by Motiejunas. And Becker Taylor wants to know why this wasn't called on Dwight and they didn't wave the free throw off.
Well, it's a good question, and Dwight looks like the most paramount culprit in this free throw violation. But actually, if you take a look at the two players on the lane line, Dwight, and I don't know who his opponent is right next to him, at the time, both of those people put their left feet into the paint simultaneously. So even though Howard looks more profound in it, both are illegal. And what Howard does to the play is he brings attention to this entire situation. So now the officials have to contend with it. What can they do? Well, the violation belongs to both guys. The ball that went in should not count, and the jump ball at center circle between any two should occur. Now, Coach, I know you talked about plays of this nature that are less noticeable that referees pass on when the ball goes in.
Markieff Morris is the one boxing Dwight Howard out, and while he puts his left foot in, he definitely disengages and does step backwards. It's a little bit after he releases, but he steps backwards back out again. We do know that if he had stepped in early and Motiejunas makes the basket, they count it. They won't call the violation because it didn't affect the shooter, but obviously it's when the teammate of the free throw shooter comes in early is when they would call it. And, I get it. They both stepped in, so the letter of the law would certainly be what you said, a jump ball. And at the very least, the complexion of this game should have changed significantly if they were on it. Let's move on to our last clip, which is a college clip. Everybody seemed to have an opinion on this one, where they have Duke versus Syracuse, and the Syracuse player goes hard to the basket. Duke tries to take a charge, and the referee gives it to him. And then Jim Boeheim kind of goes a little, crazy on the court and gets a double tech and gets thrown out. So, Ronnie, tell us what you think about this play and whether or not it was a good block charge call.
Well, you know what? The bottom line was it was a good block charge call, and it was called a charge correctly. And I think what Boeheim was talking about in his post game was that there was a new interpretation of block charge. If a player gets into a position prior to his opponent going upward into a shooting motion, then he's going to be credited for the offensive foul in his defensive posture. And in this case, this defender got there prior to the start of the shooting motion, and Boeheim probably didn't realize that occurred. So because of that, for all intents and purposes, that play, when you look at the big picture, was a charge. So there's a little bit of a hop by the defender. If you look at it in a detailed version at the baseline, there's a little bit of a hop to kind of make his position even kind of better. Technically, that hop, could be thought of as an illegal move. He should have stayed still, but it was almost right in the same framing of everything, and it's not worth the split hairs. The best on this play is truly offensive foul. The official got it correct, and the rest is history, and I understand Swafford is not going to take any penalty out on Boeheim's behaviors.
Well, I guess he's lucky he's been around a long time that gets that kind of respect, because as far as the charge goes, I think part of the argument was he wasn't completely square, like the contact wasn't completely chest-to-chest contact, but in my opinion, as a coaching standpoint, it is close enough where it could go either way on that interpretation, and certainly it had nothing to do with whether he jumped before the guy got there, because you're right, that was certainly clear that he was there. So the notion that with 10 seconds to go and giving free throws to Duke when you're only down by 2 is that game is still completely in the balance. I know you and I have both seen crazier things happen in less time.
Very well said.
I will say, here's my rant for today. What Boeheim did was lose the game for his team. And I feel like they've gone through a lot of these really close games. And in fact, they've come out on top on a lot of these close games. And it might have just been sort of a lot of pent-up frustration from a lot of things, but you can never, ever, A, lose your cool like that. B, the idea that you would be out there cussing out the refs like that is beyond reproach. You cannot have a major college coach on a national stage doing that. And I love the fact that he gets technical fouls, and then he starts yelling at the ref more as if he didn't deserve them. So I'm not a big Boeheim fan anyway. Most of the fans here know that. But I was really scratching my head and shaking my head quite loudly over his histrionics.
And I think ACC Commissioner Swafford probably might want to take a look at that behavior again and see if he wants his coaches able to really stand out like that. Of course, I live in the East. Boeheim is very, very well respected. I think Vital was talking about you don't want to end a game that way. All these other alternative things are not what the official is dealing with. He's dealing with, do I have a strike here or do I have a ball? And in this case, it's a strike, and he had to address it. That's really where it's at.
I just felt like there was a lack of humility there, and there wasn't. He didn't seem to be apologetic in a way that. Nothing condones that, and if Lord knows I've gotten angry at refs too, and if I had ever done something like that, I know I would have gladly accepted whatever punishment they offered, and it's mind-boggling to me that there isn't one.
Well, it was a contradiction in his talk at the post game. He actually said he thought the game was officiated very, very well, so there were no behaviors that were building up. And I think he did that because I think he was trying to recognize that his behavior was really out of place, and he didn't want to, throw the officials under the bus, so to speak. But the bottom line was he said that, and all of a sudden you have this final call on a game that you feel comfortable with. It doesn't seem to add on both sides of the equation.
Well, Ronnie, again, another great episode. Learned something very important today that I didn't know before. I'm really happy about that, and I'm sure the fans are as well. And looking forward to another great round of stuff. So don't forget, sports fans, when you get on Twitter and submit these things using the hashtag Court Call, we will get to them.
Well done, Coach. And by the way, are you in this time?
Hey, Ronnie, I'm in.
Well, I'm in also. Thanks a lot, Coach. Great day. Let's keep those plays coming in from our people.